What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the newest episode of Crunch Time with Kruck. Sitting alongside me, as usual, Max Williams. No guest this week, Max, but we got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 2 weeks. Last week was spring break, and this week we're going to catch you up. So, Max, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kruck. How you been?
Living the dream, man. Let's hop right into things. NFL, the biggest moves in the offseason so far. What move stands out to you?
Kruck, I mean, there's this whole NFL, I got to say, this whole NFL offseason, I think, is one of the most craziest offseasons, I think, out of all of them. I mean, I look at one team in particular. I look at the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, if you just heard the news, the Miami Dolphins just got Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs. Yep, they just got Tyreek Hill, and they got him on there for a 4-year, $120 million extension. Which, Kruck, if you look at this trade, that is a huge pickup for, obviously, for the Dolphins, and especially with the speed they already got at receiver. They already got Parker there as well. They're already signing Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys. That's another big pickup. The question, though, I'm looking at, and got Raheem Mostert, is like we mentioned before, is Tua Tagovailoa now going to be that kind of person for the Dolphins? He's got to be that guy, especially with all these weapons that he has. This is the kind of the year for Tua to show people who he is as a quarterback, and I think who he is as a player. I think that's a big pickup as well. And the other teams, too, we look at the AFC West, Kruck. I mean, the AFC West is just getting loaded and loaded by the minute. We look at, obviously, with the Broncos getting Russell Wilson, really big pickup for them. We look at the Raiders right now trying to get Devontae Adams, getting Chandler Jones, 2 big pickups as well. And the Chargers getting J.C. Jackson from the New England Patriots. It's a great corner as well. So you can already see that this AFC West, especially, we already got Mahomes, Derek Carr, you got Justin Herbert, and now you got Russell Wilson in the fold. That whole AFC West is going to be a fight to the finish, I think. Well, probably the toughest league in the NFL, probably this year. So those are kind of the biggest moves I saw. And obviously, looking at the Chiefs, they did get Juju Smith-Schuster for a 1-year, $10.75 million deal. And they also just got Marquise Valdez-Scantling as well on a 3-year, $30 million deal. So that's 2 good receivers there as well. And obviously, there's rumors about Tyrann Mathieu as well. Do we know where he's going to go? We don't know his status. But they've already got a kind of a replacement guy with Justin Reed from the Texans with a 3-year, $31.5 million deal. So a lot of moves there, Kruck. You got any others in particular?
I mean, definitely the biggest name in NFL history. Tom Brady decides to take a page out of Michael Jordan's book and unretires from football. Decides he's going to come back and run it back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again, which helped the Bucs retain some of these guys who are kind of on their way out. The Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, I think that was a great move for Russell Wilson. He did all he could in Seattle. That was his time. He did great, but he had to move on. Last year, I thought he was going to the Bears. This year, he's going to a different B team, the Broncos. I thought the Broncos were going to get Aaron Rodgers when they were first in the market for a quarterback. Right. But Rodgers decides to stay in Green Bay. Has some fun with that. But Green Bay decides to get rid of all of his weapons. Adams gone, Lazard gone. Or Lazard, I think, is the only one that stayed. Everybody else is gone. Looking at Cleveland's quarterback situation, they have 2 middle-tier quarterbacks right now. They have Deshaun Watson and they have Baker Mayfield. Deshaun hasn't played in a year and they don't know how he's going to do. Baker Mayfield played last year and he did not have a fantastic year, but it still was a decent year. Looking at some other quarterback situations, mainly because I'm a Bears fan, but the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to go with Mitchell Trubisky as their quarterback for the future, and they literally call him a marry your daughter type of guy, just a well-rounded, easygoing kind of guy, and I really liked him with the Bears. I thought he was a good, mobile quarterback. He could make plays with his feet. But he was also, he was a thrower. He's not a Lamar Jackson, a Cam Newton, a old school Colin Kaepernick, where it's like there's a 50-50 chance that running it or passing it. He's more of a let me scramble, set my feet, throw the ball.
Yep.
He's not a run 'em, gun 'em kind of guy. And with the with the Pittsburgh Steelers picking him up, sorry, my head's in baseball. With the Steelers picking him up, that leaves Mason Rudolph to think, is Rudolph going to get a chance, or are they just going to go with Trubisky? Other quarterbacks to talk about, Kirk Cousins somehow got retained by the Vikings. I didn't think he ever did that well with them, but he said the Vikings want him back. And then I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet, but the Bengals getting Burrow some help.
Yeah.
I mean, that is absolutely huge for you guys. Out of the AFC, I think the Bengals are still top 2, if not top 3. My personal opinion, it goes Bills, Bengals, Chiefs for the top 3 in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean that's very interesting to look at. I think I agree with you with the Bills too. I think the Bills are a team with Josh Allen that just was obviously a kind of a play or an overtime game away from possibly going to the AFC Championship game. Obviously with the whole rules and everything, I think Josh Allen is that type of quarterback that still people are still not totally talking about in the league. I still think that and I still believe that. But obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, my Bengals getting that help, getting Lyle Collins, Alex Capa, Ted Carrios, obviously Capa coming from the Buccaneers, Carrios coming from the New England Patriots, and obviously getting Lyle Collins from the Cowboys. Those are 3 good kind of pickups for the offensive line, especially that was a need, as you saw obviously in the Super Bowl and other games as well. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, like we mentioned with Cleveland too, with Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun's probably going to be the starter. I think if you look at Watson, to me, the thing about with Deshaun is that he's a quarterback that can make a lot of different plays. And I think that's very important for the Cleveland Browns, especially picking up Amari Cooper as well. Obviously getting that, another pickup. So 2 good pickups for the Browns. And quickly, obviously, Jacksonville had 2 other picks with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones with a 4-year $72 and a 3-year $24 million. So obviously good pickups there for Jacksonville as well, Craig.
Yeah, and shifting gears over into the NBA now. The NBA is getting near the end of their season.
Yeah.
They have roughly, 10 games left. And the number 1 team in the NBA, honestly not a surprise to many, but a huge surprise to me, is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have claimed the best record at the end of the season. They will have the best record or tied for the best record, depending upon
How they finish off.
the remaining games. But I still don't like the Suns. I don't. Out of the Western Conference, there's only 2 teams that really stand out to me as NBA Finals contenders,
Yep.
and that's going to be the Warriors. And honestly, they got to make it out of the play-in tournament. But I could see the Lakers doing it. The Lakers have a lot have a lot of talent, and yeah, they still have to contend to get in there. But playoff LeBron is just different. I mean,
True.
playoff LeBron carried a bunch of scrubs through Cleveland to the finals countless times.
Okay.
And I mean, you got him. If AD can get you 10 points, 12 rebounds, Russell, Westbrook, all that guy's got to do is bring the ball up the court and pass it to LeBron. You got a couple other role players, make some big shots here and there. Carmelo Anthony, sit on the bench, don't take off your warm-up. Just honestly like that. The Warriors with Clay back, if they can get Draymond Green healthy again, Steph Curry keeps lighting up from three-point range, those 2 teams I could see making it to the conference finals, but I do see the Warriors beating them. Looking at the East, Miami Heat has claimed the East so far. They clinched their division. The Bucks are up there, 76ers, Celtics, Bulls, and Cavs. I don't see the Cavs doing anything.
Yeah, I agree there.
The Celtics have always been the first round, second round exit. Same with Philly, first round, second round exit. The Bucks might have a chance to repeat. I don't think the Heat is all that they're made up to be. Their COVID year when they made it to the finals, I think that was about as good as they were going to get in recent history. And the Bulls, this is the first year that this chemistry of the Bulls have been together. I am a Bulls fan, but I don't think they're making it to the finals. I could see them getting dropped in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was some interesting takes, interesting things that you kind of said there. I think when I look at the Western Conference, I still like Phoenix. I still think Phoenix is a good team. Obviously, Chris Paul being out, I think, is a major part for that organization. But another team in the West that I like is, the Lakers, here's what I believe in. I still think with the Lakers, they still have to have their chemistry total together. And I still don't think, obviously, we don't know about AD with obviously his status, with how he's going to be healthy or not. I just think that whole year has not lived up to a team like the Memphis Grizzlies. I really think this Memphis Grizzlies team is right now playing in all cylinders with Ja Morant, Desmond Bane. Those 2 guys, I think, are actually going to make possibly the Memphis Grizzlies a surprise team to possibly make the finals. I really believe in this because I think Memphis has something going on there. And I really think that's on the winning streak they've had. That's a team I'm looking at.
Yeah, see, I hate to disagree with you, Max, because like we're co-hosts, and I hate to disagree with you, but I do not like the Grizzlies' leadership under Ja Morant because, you look at the rest of these team leaders. LeBron James just, took over second place all-time scoring, right? But out of everybody with over 30,000 points, he has the most assists with over 10,000 assists. You look at Ja Morant. Ja Morant's a scorer. First and foremost, he will score, and then he's not really getting the assists as much as like these other team leaders. And then the people who help him along, they're not A caliber helpers, right? These are not big names that everybody knows about. And in the NBA, that's almost what you need. You don't need as many as the Lakers because look at them. The Lakers have so many big names that it's not working. You need a team, kind of like Phoenix, kind of like the Warriors, where you have Chris Paul, you have Devin Booker. They're your two big ones. You have, Steph Curry. You have Klay Thompson or Draymond Green, depending upon what you like. You look at I would compare the Grizzlies to more of the Mavericks. You look at the Mavericks and the Grizzlies, they both have one huge player. Aside from those two, they have really good role players.
True.
But role players can only get you so far.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I understand your point. I understand your point is obviously you want to have different superstars or whatever, but I just think when you look at it, I think you can also have a team with, if you have all the other players that are not big names and they can step up and make shots, I think they can help out too. And I like what you said about with the Warriors, because the Warriors kind of have that. The Warriors have, obviously with Klay getting healthy, with obviously Steph being there, being Steph Curry. They also got Kuminga, they got Green that is still there. They're all still kind of great players overall. And that's, I think, the teams right now, like Phoenix and Memphis, that's what they got going for them. Smaller kind of players stepping up for their teams, and they're making a winning record out of it. And then just quickly looking at the East, I mean, look, I think the team to watch out for, if they can stay healthy with Embiid and Harden, is the Sixers. Obviously, the Sixers have had things in their troubles overall, but I think if looking at James Harden, he's just a player you can't miss. James Harden is a player that when he is really good, he can shoot and he can be one of the best players in the league. And I think the Sixers, and especially with Embiid, how he plays with Harden is going to be a big key in this conference. That's, I think. And then obviously the Celtics, too, are another team to watch. Obviously they're playing hot right now. And you look at Jason Tatum, he's right now playing like an all-star Krug. And I think that's a big key coming down to the end of the stretch, especially in this NBA season.
Oh, absolutely. Both teams on the East that you just talked about, I mean, huge points there. The Philadelphia 76ers, my big thing's always been, you need a big three, but one of them has to be a role player, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the 76ers, they have Joel Embiid, he's a big one. James Harden, he's a big one. Tobias Harris, he can fill in as a big name if Harden or Embiid aren't playing well, but he can be a good role player.
True.
His defense matches his offense. He's good at that. The Boston Celtics, I hate the Celtics. I absolutely despise them because they literally prove that anybody can be good at basketball if you put in enough time and effort. Look at Jaylen Brown. He has nights where he goes off. Look at Marcus Smart. He has nights where he goes off. Jason Tatum, just doing what Jason Tatum does. I mean, this entire team, and even Robert Williams, they're one of their centers. Honestly, in the draft, he was not that good. But they just put him in the gym, and they said, you will get good if you follow our regimen. And he did it, and he's good now.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics know how to create talent unlike any other team in the NBA. Every other NBA team drafts talent. The Boston Celtics, they create talent.
I agree with you there, Kruck. I mean, I think those two teams right now are still forefront players. If I had to choose a team from both conferences real quick, I would say the Bucks is still my favorite in the East. I just feel like there's something about the Bucks, obviously winning last year, and Giannis. If none other team's gonna be like the Raptors and try to stop him and try to double team him in the paint or whatever, Giannis is just gonna take control of the game. I always believe in that and how he is. I think that's another big key to look at, especially when you look at the Celtics and the Cavs. They're falling apart at the wrong time.
Yep. All right, that's a cut. Shifting gears from the NBA into March Madness, Max, what are some of the big games that people really need to start looking at in terms of March Madness?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it right now, obviously, just to recap from obviously yesterday's Sweet 16 games, obviously yesterday, the number one overall seed in Gonzaga lost to Arkansas 74-68. And obviously Houston and Villanova and Duke, also all those teams won as well in those Sweet 16 games. Some other games just to keep an eye on. If you want to know a team that's a Cinderella team you've never heard of before, you obviously hear all these teams obviously in the tournament. The St. Peter's Peacocks, Kruck. I mean, this team has already upset Kentucky, which in my bracket, in my opinion, already put them to possibly go for the second overall seed. And obviously looking at beat Murray State as well. Obviously beat Murray State, two good kind of teams. I think that's very, very cool to watch. And obviously they got this player named Doug Edert-Kruck. This guy has been crazy. He's been the spirit of this team for St. Peter's. But will their run keep continuing? They played tonight against Purdue, and Purdue is a really good team. You know what I mean? They're an established team. You obviously got Zach Edey, you got Travion Williams, and then Jaden Ivey, which could be a big lottery NBA pick in the coming draft. I think you look at this Purdue team, they're the only Big Ten team left in the tournament, Crooks. I think the luck of St. Peter's ends tonight. And you look at the other games, too, to mention, I'm looking at it, and there's a lot of interesting things to look at. I think it's very cool to watch a team. You know, we look at it. I think Purdue is a team I'm watching. I'm watching another team, Duke, too. I think the Duke Blue Devils are another team to watch, with obviously looking at Coach K in his last season. You got to remember, this is last season coaching. And I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how far they go. They've already made it to the Elite Eight. They're going to play Arkansas. I think Duke will win that game, and they will go to the Final Four. So those are kind of some of the highlights so far. You got anything else, Krupp?
Yeah, looking at the St. Peter's Peacocks, once again, huge Cinderella team. They beat Kentucky. They beat Murray State, two huge teams, right? Mm-hmm. I think Purdue's going to give them more than what they're bargaining for, and Purdue's going to win that game because they have two games of footage. And when you get to the men's basketball March Madness championship, you have to pull out every stop. You're playing every trick play, every offensive play, every defensive play. Don't matter. You got to do it. They can't have much left in their bag. They can't have much left that they haven't tackled yet. So I think that St. Peter's might be biting off too much, more than they can chew. Yeah. Out of the other side, UCLA versus UNC, two old school basketball teams. These two teams have a colorful history when it comes to basketball. I can't tell who I want to win it, but I do think UCLA will win it. Looking at the top part, Providence versus Kansas, I think Kansas is going to take it. Kansas is just playing lights out. They're doing well. There's a reason they're a number one seed. I think they're going to win it. And then I'm going to call an upset. I'm going to call Iowa State over Miami.
Yeah, I kind of like those picks.
I like that upset.
I like that too. I think Iowa State will beat Miami. Just how the confidence they're playing, you know what I mean? Especially under the coach, just to see how they are as a team. I kind of like North Carolina over UCLA. I kind of think how North Carolina is playing right now. They scored 90 points, Kruck, in the past two games. That's pretty incredible. And UCLA, obviously, they are a brand team. They've obviously made it far last year, making it to the Final Four. But this is a good North Carolina team. There's something different about this team this year. And like you said before, I think Kansas right now is going to be Providence because Providence has done well. I thought they were going to get upset by the South Dakota State in the first round. But Kansas is right now, they are on another level. This team is playing well. Bill Self is getting these guys ready, especially Ojai Abachi. That guy can shoot the ball like crazy, lights out.
Shifting into the MLB, Max, out of all of the trades, signings, free agencies, everything that's going on, Max, what is the biggest thing in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the trades, I mean, we saw Carlos Correa went to the Twins. That was an interesting one. I thought that was a big pickup for the Twins, especially knowing that Carlos Correa has been that type of guy for Houston. Freddie Freeman to the Dodgers. I think that was one. I thought Freddie Freeman was going to stay in Atlanta for all that time. You know what I mean? I thought he was there, but obviously the Dodgers found something to get him to go to the Dodgers, and obviously another big pickup for that team. The Mariners, they took two of my Cincinnati Reds, Kruck. They took Jesse Winker and Suarez, I think I said that name right. Two big players for the Reds last year, and obviously they were big hitters, and Jesse Winker was, obviously, was he in the All-Star game? I think he was. He was in the All-Star game. And I thought that was very important for the Mariners, especially a team that wants to rebuild, get a new organization. And then I think Chris Bryant to the Rockies is another one. You know what I mean? That was another big pickup for a team like the Rockies that especially wants to compete out there with the Dodgers and all those teams out there. It's another big pickup. And just before I let you go, Kruck, I'm glad that the MLB and the Player Association finally made an agreement to make MLB go back to where it was. Obviously, just making it to have still 162-game regular season is still big importance as well. So props to the MLB and the Players Association for getting that done.
Absolutely. The couple of things that I would not be a true Brewers fan if I didn't talk about Andrew McCutchen coming to the Brewers.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. Before Freddie Freeman left the Braves, they signed Matt Olson, the first baseman from the Braves, right? And Freddie Freeman, he was on the fence. He was like, you know what?
Yep.
He's like, I might stay. At this point, I realize the talent we have, I might stay. They signed another first baseman behind his back, and he said, all right, see you guys later. The Yankees sent a couple of players up north to Minnesota. Both catcher Gary Sanchez and third/first baseman Gio Urshela are both now Carlos Correa teammates in Minnesota. Minnesota is doing pretty good so far.
Yeah.
The Nationals getting another big slugger in Nelson Cruz.
Oh, yeah.
1 year, $15 million. The Phillies, though, man, the Phillies were doing good. They signed Kyle Schwarber, and they signed another player from the Reds, Nicholas Castellanos. The Yankees, they got rid of their first baseman, Luke Voigt, who I personally thought was going to be their future first baseman. They sent him to the Padres for a couple of minor league pitchers. And the Yankees re-signed Anthony Rizzo for 2 years, $32 million. Anthony Rizzo I wanted him to be a lifetime Cub, but now that he's with the Yankees, I might be able to cheer for him a little bit. The Royals got Zach Greinke back. He started his career with the Yankees. Now he's on a 1 year, $13 million with the Yankees. The Giants signed a 1 year, $6 million deal with Jock Peterson. He was a clutch player for the Braves in that postseason run. And then, obviously, as you talked about, the Dodgers signing first baseman Freddie Freeman. 6 years, $162 million.
Wow.
And right now, their current infield looks like this. You've got Freddie Freeman at first, Max Muncy at second, third base is Justin Turner, shortstop is Trey Turner. Your outfield is going to look like this. Mookie Betts in right, Cody Bellinger in center, and then Chris Taylor or any other prospect that you can bring up. You got Gavin Lux, who can DH or play second base if you want to take Muncy out of the lineup. The white Will Smith, because there is a black Will Smith in LA, but the baseball player Will Smith is going to be behind the plate. And then on the mound, they have one of the best rotations. They've got Clayton Kershaw in the rotation. They just got rid of Dustin May, but they still have Walker Buehler. They have a couple other really big names. And the only big thing that I didn't like that they did is that Kenley Jansen, one of their best closers and one of the best closers in baseball, left the Dodgers to go sign with the Braves. I wish if the Dodgers would have held on to him.
Yeah, he's a good reliever.
If the Dodgers held on to him, the Dodgers might as well just get the World Series crown right now. They are. You look at the teams in LA, the Rams, loaded with talent. The Dodgers, even more loaded with talent. The Lakers, loaded with talent, but for some reason, they're not good. Just looking at all of the talent in LA, there's so much talent there. And that's because they have so much money. It's a huge market there.
It's the market, yeah.
Last one I'll talk about, Miami Marlins signed Jorge Solaire. The previous year's World Series MVP, Jorge Solaire, is a outfield DH for the Miami Marlins. 3 years, $36 million with an opt-out after both the 2022 and the 2023 season. Oh, and sorry, Trevor Story. Trevor Story went to the Red Sox, and in his first press release, he said, I don't really like it because they're not going to let me play shortstop. Xander Bogaerts, one of the best shortstops in the AL East. He's going to be playing shortstop, and they're putting Trevor Story at second base, which for most people you really don't think about it, but that is a big switch for a shortstop. Because all of a sudden, when you're throwing to second base, you're not throwing it to the left anymore. You're throwing it to the right. When you're turning a double play, you're going against your own body to throw it back to first base. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for Trevor Story because he's that good at defense, and his bat is also pretty solid. But to have that kind of a press release and throw shade more or less on the organization that's paying you $150 million, yeah, wouldn't exactly be too thrilled about that one.
No, I mean, like I said, you mentioned all the picks, Kruck, and I think it'll be interesting to see how baseball starts. You know what I mean? I can't wait to see the season and see what happens.
All right, that's going to do it for us here at Crunch Time. Make sure to tune in next week. We got more baseball, basketball, and maybe we'll throw in a weird sport for you guys. Until next time, Max, Kruck, see you around.